right, guys.
All right, here we go. Let's get ready to, well, not get a copyright strike. So
I think we're okay to say that, aren't we?
I think they trademarked it at one point, but I'm not sure.
Okay. Well,
I'm sure that David Buffer trademarked that because he needs the money.
that'd be Michael Buffer.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
His brother's one for UFC.
I can only remember his brother, Bruce, because he's the more talented of the two.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Michael Buffer is just downvoting this video. Like, whoa.
He's like, I'm suing these assholes.
Didn't Michael
You're a public figure. Fuck you.
Didn't Michael do a WCW ring announcement where he announced Bret the Hitman Clark?
Yes, he sure as fuck did.
You know that I'll have to agree with you on the Bruce.
Clark.
I watched that and I was like, the what? What was that again?
I'm sorry, squeeze me? That's hilarious, man. I actually never seen that before. That'd be funny. So speaking of Royal Rumble, that's what we're going to be discussing today is some Royal Rumble and some SS3, as a matter of fact.
Well, so I know you, of all people, Tony, don't need this information, but for anybody who may not be aware, they started making holiday sets fairly early in. We got a little mini trash can with the two-man power trip and Brothers of Destruction. That was a very odd thing to make a holiday set. Like the cans were cool, but you could fit 2 decks in there, but it didn't really lend itself toward being stacked with other things.
No, it's good, it's good to take out and then throw like your extra change in there and stuff like that.
Sure. In fact, we did that when traveling. We'd put all of our travel money in the It's All About the Game change cup so that we didn't accidentally spend our gas money, before the trip home. So then they got smart and they said, well, let's make something that's a little more stackable and, collectible for pragmatic sake. And they got the Ruthless Aggression box set.
Which is shaped like a cinder block.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. But I like that you could put quite a few cards and decks and other materials in there once you remove the little spacer dude.
More loose change.
Sure, if you really want.
Yeah.
And then we got Absolute Raw Ultimate Smackdown, which was basically just a plastic container holding 2 deck boxes.
Giant plastic container with 2 deck boxes and a stack of like 20 cards.
Why they didn't just, make a smaller container that would hold, I guess so they had a bigger display at the stores.
Right.
I don't know.
It's absolutely shelf space.
Horrible shelf space. I mean, I'm sure retailers hated that.
Oh, I'm sure that they did, but that big ass plastic bit is just sitting on the shelf and it catches your eye because it's that bright red and bright blue tins in this big, like, airy display, like they're floating in the ether. What the hell is that?
Guess I'm going to play some wrestling.
Yeah.
I guess so.
Then they went bigger with the battle bags, which was a bit more space taking than previous holiday sets, but the bags were pretty handy. To be fair,
those bags were nice. I still have my battle bag, and it's still in one piece.
I got.
I have 2 that I still use, and I use them for just stacks of virtual cards, and it's very easy to find them because I go in. Okay, this is the stack for virtual 1. Here's whatever I'm looking for. Virtual 3 is on this little well.
I still have decks in mind that I should probably dismantle and reclaim the sleeves from.
Possibly.
And then I'll take the cards.
We could talk.
So then they said, well, let's do something completely different. Instead of having a closed set, let's make an actual set. And we got Royal Rumble, which was the first booster-only set in Raw Deal. Now, originally, they had talked about doing something called Foiled Again. In the Unforgiven playtest documents, there's some ad copy for what they wanted to do. And it says, the basic concept for this set is to be a booster-only expansion with around 30 new cards. Every pack would retail for $3.29 as usual and contain 8 foil cards. 3 commons, 2 uncommons, 1 rare, 1 superstar specific, and 1 foiled again card. The commons, uncommons, rares, superstar specific cards would be exclusively from Armageddon and Unforgiven, making it like a mini Survivor Series set to keep people up to date of the best of what our sets have to offer. Looks like 120 to 150 cards total from those 2 sets. The superstar specific cards would be premium rares only, so not starter deck foils. And every pack would come with 1 foiled again card, which would be a non-unique card created for this set, so fans would get foil versions of all the best cards from the 2 sets, never before seen as foil. And they would also get 1 of 30 new non-unique, non-superstar specific cards. So for those people who really wanted a shiny deck, maybe this would have been the way to get that foil volley this, or whatever else. Just so their 2-man power trip deck could be completely shiny.
They were planning ahead for the $1 Million Man.
Maybe. But they also had a promo for this. It was a 9 fortitude unique action. You basically take 1 foil from ringside, put it in your deck, and then search your arsenal for 1 foil. And they decided probably after all of the foiling of Survivor Series 3 that it was just too much. At one point, they called the set Vendetta, and that action became search for 1 Vendetta card. But I couldn't find any information about what Vendetta cards were supposed to be. So I think at some point they said, well, let's just not bother with whatever this gimmick or thing was. And they said, no, we're just going to make it Royal Rumble. And so the Vendetta promo became Rumblings, which is not a bad little action. It just doesn't see play.
I mean, it's not on the tier of something like Activate, which has
Yeah.
a big splashy ring effect. Rumblings is just kind of there.
I think it's search for one of, like, choose a trait from this list.
Yes.
Go search for 1, but your opponent can also search for 1. So it's great if you choose SmackDown and they're a Raw deck, but there's always a chance you say manager interferes and they go, yeah, me too. But anyway, I hear there's actually a set we're going to talk about today.
Yeah. Well, yes. Well,
Yeah.
we're segueing right into that. It became the first booster, only holiday set.
Mhm.
It became the
before-
only holiday set of boosters.
But before that, we actually had SS3
Mhm.
because Royal Rumble actually makes a couple corrections in it that were done previously.
It does. But the set itself had a really good amount of cards that kind of pushed all of the different themes and traits. So we saw more chain cards. We saw more Raw or SmackDown cards. There were more face and heel cards that kind of rounded out what
Right.
those
Royal
groups of
Rumble is
cards
definitely
did.
a send-off to face and heel because CI have been getting pressure from WWE to stop using these insider terms.
Yes, because it's funny we talk about that because I have to post. It's going to go up probably later today. I sat down with Anti-Goth. We talked about the
Good
death
old Brian.
yeah, and we did make I had a big conversation about getting rid of those indie terms like that, those insider terms of getting rid of heel and face in favor of fan favorite and cheater.
Well, fan favorite and cheater were supposed to be the more acceptable replacements.
Correct. So it was fun to learn that, actually. I actually never even thought about that. I never even knew about that, actually. That was pretty cool stuff to learn.
Yeah, you can see when in earlier play tests, I don't have the extensiveness that I have for Unforgiven, unfortunately, but even where I came
We'll
in
forgive
with Royal
you this
Rumble,
time.
yeah, this one can be forgiven, unlike the other one, which could not.
The Unforgiven.
Correct.
So I don't know how far back it goes, but you can definitely see a point where all of a sudden they went, oh, okay. And the next iteration, cards have fan favorite and cheater designations, and they started trying to create more reasons why people would choose one or the other. And that led into like No Way Out, where we saw more of the reasons to go
Oh, yeah.
one way or the other. But that's we've
That's a
talked
video
about
that you
those
can
sets
find
specifically.
on VelaCards' YouTube channel.
Yes.
So it was a goodbye for Face and Heel, who got some odd things. Face really made out here because Heel definitely cornered the market on the reversals and the maneuvers. Face had some actions, but they still kind of fell behind. So Heel got a couple cards in this set, but you could really see the Face push with Once Is Enough, obviously.
Yeah, obviously that one's a good one.
Because we had Sloppy, but it didn't work from deck the way that Manager Interferes does. And
It was also more expensive, which was kind of
right. We also had product endorsements became a huge card.
Oh, yeah.
Not in Afterburn, but in all access play, a lot of times these big superstar valued cards, these big value superstars just didn't really have anything to do with all that. So you'd have a 6, a 7. So what? Everybody's going to showtime you anyway. So now they could say, well, we're going to reduce your superstar value and bring you down. This also worked well for somebody who bitter rivals and then became the lower superstar value. Thank you. With lowering their value to be able to go first.
It's a great
Product
card.
Endorsements also gives you pre-match extension, which is a good reason to play it, even if you don't care about the superstar value reduction at all.
Right. And one of the little techie things that still sees play to this day is to combine this card with WrestleMania. So your opponent doesn't have much of a superstar value and won't be recovering very much once that triggers.
Mm-hmm. I also got great play out of that in Eugene, because Eugene's superstar value is derived from his opponents. So I use product endorsements to make my opponent's superstar value a 0, no matter what it is, because it's reduced by my superstar value plus 1, and my superstar value is yours minus 1. So that resolves to your superstar value. And then I played a +1 belt. So you're a 0, I am a 1. I still get underrated, but I also go first. Hi!
That sounds like Eugene.
It
That's a
does
very good.
indeed.
That's a really good impersonation, by the way.
This
I did
product
like
is
that.
the best product ever. Yay!
What else do we got, Key, that came out of the Royal Rumble here? Because it's got a lot of cool stuff. There's a lot of cool.
Royal Rumble has
parts.
so many key cards. I'm looking just down the list on VelaCards.com, cheap pop.
Yeah.
And I just happen to stop at Ready to Fight.
It's a
Good
great
God,
card. What a
Add
great
a
card.
card that has defined an era. Because it's 8 fortitude, which is, not 0, which is important. But when you're behind, it becomes 0.
Yep.
So when you're getting beat up, you can just drop this no matter what your fortitude rating is. It's chain. It shuffles 5, but it's also a non-unique mid-match card, which means it gets tagged by Road to Victory, so you could shut off that shuffle once, which is why it has an ace that lets you grab maneuvers from your ringside. So even if it gets hit with Road to Victory, it still gives you value. And that also removes it from your ring, so it's not needing a mid-match slot anymore.
Which also means if you have some mechanism to get it back, you can play it again later and
you sure
continue to
can.
recover, which is awesome. I actually missed the value in this card, maybe because I was just sort of dismissing everything after Road to Victory. It's like, is it a non-unique mid-match action? Pass. But then I looked at it when I was looking for something else and went, hey, this is good for what I want. And the more I read it, I went, this is good, period. Like, how did I miss how good this card is?
Yeah, I think
There are a lot of mid-match cards in this era, or in this set, that are designed with Road to Victory in mind.
I was trying to remember what I used to play Ready to Fight with. I think I used to combo it with rest holds.
I played Ready to Fight in everybody. Everybody that could pack chain cards. Yeah, and I want to recover. Ready to Fight is probably going in 2 of.
Which is probably why you're out of stock of them.
Yes. But
A demand
look at
card.
cards like a Technical Shoot or Future Considerations. Technical Shoot is a pretty good card. Future Considerations less so. But both of those don't care if they get blanked and your turn is ended because they just turn right back on. Or like Chain Heat and Volley Barrier. Those just work in the ring. The whole barrier thing of let's give people counter tools to fight against everything else that's going on was an interesting thought, but they were kind of clumsy to actually get down. And it also took up space in packing that you weren't sure you were ever going to use. Chain barrier is great if your opponent's playing chain. If they're not, it does nothing.
Yeah.
All of them felt a little silver bullety to me. I never did end up using any of them.
I can't remember any time I packed any one of those.
Because
And Volley Barrier is just mean.
Yeah. It only matters if it hits the ring. It has no other effect, no rider, no whatever. So it doesn't even let you like draw a card. So it's only going to work if you see a chain guy and if he doesn't reverse it.
Yep.
And then you get a small minor perk. No, it kind of felt a little fillery to me, which there wasn't a lot of in Royal Rumble. It didn't feel like they were trying to come up with a bunch of decks to fill, like a bunch of cards to fill starter decks this time around because they didn't have to.
Right.
So most things, even if we chose not to use them, still felt like in the situation where you would, they would work pretty well. We did see in this set the introduction of technical cards, which didn't make a huge splash when they first came out, but there was definitely the potential there and a concept that was well developed later on. To fetch a technical, every technical gets another technical, but also all of the effects on technical cards involve putting cards back into your arsenal in some fashion. So here, technical drop kick. Well, that's the most obvious one.
Yeah, it's the iconic one.
Yeah, it's the utility ones. bury it to pick up another technical card. Okay, well, it goes back into your deck, so you can fetch it later. You have, I think Technical Slam was in this set. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah,
Yep.
bottom it and draw a card.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Go figure that I know the slam.
Go
oh,
Also,
figure.
yes.
Important that technical slam is a 4/8, so for A turn it's a 0/8.
That was one of the cute things they did too. Is they put in little things like that help superstars. It was almost like they took some of their best ideas and focused it here. They said, well, since we're not driving a big chase for ultra rares because there's only 4 people in the set for superstars, let's try to make all the cards useful so that people do want to buy more boxes or packs of Royal Rumble and drive the sales up. I know I was in strong on this set even once I had all the ultra rares, just because there was so many cards, things like Handcuffed and Armed and Dangerous, foreign objects for both face and heel.
And cards like You Feeling Lucky.
Yes.
Yep. There's some really cool, like I said, other good mid-match cards as well. They introduced 2 really strong mid-match cards in this release.
The Raw and SmackDown ones?
Correct. So the first one we have here is, we have break it out, break you down.
Yep, that is a card that you absolutely want to blank, because if that resolves to the table, it is not a fun day for anybody on the other side of it.
Usually if the first one went through, people would just drop 3. Boom, boom, boom. Wreck your hand, destroy your ringside pile, get back a bunch of stuff. Yeah. Very strong. Much stronger than the Raw card, I think.
I think that's true, but it also kind of undersells the Raw card. I think the Sex, the Gods, the Freaks, the Frauds is definitely playable, especially since it has the restricted modification symbol, so it just doesn't care about Road to Victory. And being able to just rip 4 cards out of your opponent's hand and throw them back for fresh cards is pretty good. And it gives you card advantage to boot, because you ditch 1 and draw 2.
Yeah, and there wasn't a lot of remove from game retrieval yet.
Right, not yet.
So that was very handy there, especially if you had some sort of remove from game ability or a pre-match to let you do that or something.
Yeah, I think previous to this, the best remove from game recovery was if you're not cheating, you're not trying, which was not good.
Not even for Guerreros.
No.
Sad. So sad.
Every card can't be a winner.
Yeah.
We have any other key stuff out of this release? Obviously, the technicals were great. How many different? It looked like there were only 4 different technical cards they introduced in this release.
That's correct.
Yeah.
1 for each maneuver type.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, because I know that technical dropkick became kind of a staple for that stuff, and then later on, technical monkey flip.
Monkey flip was in Great American Bash, and yes, that helped drive technical to have a different maneuver base and to be more aggressive in its maneuvers, because it was 0-6 instead of 0-4. A lot of what I saw with technical dropkick in this era was trying to be cute with shit like, I think Not in Front of the Kids came out in the next set.
Maybe. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a card that makes your maneuvers -4 damage. So, hey, technical dropkick is a 0-0 now. That still gives me 4 fortitude, and it searches for a replacement. Find a way to shut off the backlash deck, like play the People's Champ. And, the first technical dropkick went through. I played 20 more. Now I have 84 fortitude.
Yeah, I saw a Rey Mysterio deck that did something like that. If you reverse it, it just plays another one, and it just boom, 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 gets Mania or Good Night Everybody or whatever, and just goes boom, 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 I win. Huh?
Yep.
So it was silly.
So what other special stuff do we have with Royal Rumble? I think we also have what was nice about Royal Rumble is it came with a nice little cellophane pack as a box topper for everyone. Why do we have that?
We'll get there. Because we still got superstars to talk about in Royal Rumble.
That's true. Let's talk about the superstars then. Who do we got?
Before we get to the superstars, though, I just want to mention one last thing. This set had great heat support, which is something that you wouldn't really expect, because heat was doing pretty well right now. But I remember Too Hot to Handle being pretty good as just a mid-match card to get extra heat cards out, and it also adds in some heat burn. And there was the pre-match card that you discard heat cards and your opponent discards the same number of cards -1. Your discard was capped at 4. But being able to just start filling up the heat pile early on and also rip 3 cards out of my opponent's hand, yeah, I'll take that. It's getting hot in here is the card we're looking for.
It's getting hot here, yeah.
And plus, both of those cards have Tori Wilson and her companions, Victoria and Candice Michelle, on them, so they were nice to look at while you were also burning out your opponent's hand.
Maybe you could distract them with the pictures.
Yeah.
Hey, that's nice. Sure, I'll discard some cards. Wait, what did you just do?
I forgot. What are you guys talking about? I was looking at pictures. Hold on.
There's words on this card? There's another cute toy in Heat where they kind of provided something else without increasing the power creep. They added Slam and one other, I want to say Entangle in the Ropes, that countered as 2 Heat cards in your discard pile. So it lets you get out faster if you got one of those down.
Right.
And quickly get those 6 cards to be able to start chucking the moves or whatever from ringside. Volley also got a big boost here.
Yeah, Volley got some pretty nasty actions, like this little gem I'm looking at called I Waited Long Enough.
I waited long enough, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Its Volley number is equal to your Fortitude rating, which is brutal when you drop that late game. Hey, I'm going to play this action. It's Volley 30.
Good luck.
Good luck.
And if it resolves
my
to my
deck is
ring,
gone.
you put cards in your hand at the bottom of your arsenal equal to double the number of Volley cards in my ring area. So reverse this or you have no hand?
That would have been good, I think, even if it was Volley maneuvers in your ring. But Volley cards, so that card's going to count itself. So bare minimum.
And all your Volley misses count.
Yeah.
And if you manage to land Volley Call, that would count. But Volley Call wasn't that great.
Not that great.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, it's great if it hits, but yeah.
I mean, the picture's nice.
This release has a lot of nice pictures, it sounds like. Was there a theme going on here with the pictures?
I think that was just Mike Foley having fun.
Okay.
I think probably he saved some of his better pictures to really, highlight this set. Don't you want more? Look at the cute girls on it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make up for that Divas Overload release finally.
Yeah. But the Managed by Lita was also a great tool if you got it.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
To not only fetch one to start, but be able to keep building your hand as you go. And Volley cards Volley moves have a lot of stun on them anyway. So it really helped keep the thing flowing, besides everything else Volley did for a great hand advantage.
Let's go on to our superstars.
Let's do it.
Let's start off first here. We'll go with this gentleman right here.
Ah, yes. Hollywood Hulk Hogan throwback.
So they were in a weird position coming out of Unforgiven where they had printed the Immortal one, like we talked about in the other video on VelaCards. I'm not as good as the cheap pop yet. I still got to work on that.
No, I'm gonna actually hire Nate full time to start doing that for me because he does it very well.
But the people who were playing Afterburn had the Immortal cards, but they couldn't pack the Hulk Hogan cards because he was pre-Afterburn. So we got a complete set of all of the Hogan cards thrown back, every single one, and a whole new ability. It's funny that people still sometimes request, like, are we ever going to see support for original Hulk Hogan? Like, why? He wasn't that great when he came out. One of the bigger things he had going for him was the natural 9 hand size before you did anything else. And the support cards were pretty good for the time. A lot of give and take. Okay, this is strong, but then you have to do this, or this is an activated card effect, so it can be reversed. Here they came up with a stronger ability and lowered the hand size. He's still restricted in his moves because he's Hulk Hogan. But since we already had a throwback fetcher in this set, they gave him the non-throwback, which also limited what he would search for. So yeah, you could get a bootlace or a poke, but you weren't going to go fetch that German suplex or that clutch leverage because of his pack restrictions. So they made it a little more focused and definitely more useful than original Hogan.
I definitely pivoted to the throwback Hogan once he came out when I wanted to build Hogan. Because it was nice to have an ability for once. And overturning 3 cards to search is pretty good value.
Yeah, especially early on, that lets you find and keep an attack without giving up hand advantage. Most of these guys, A-train discards to search, so he didn't have to, so you could draw and get another card.
Yep. Build that
Worked
hand
out
up.
pretty well. And he's got so much recovery in the support that it kind of helps balance out for those 3 cards you're burning, plus whatever, recovery on the cards you're playing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was nice that they threw back all of his cards, because a lot of them really needed throwbacks to be competitive. There are some cases where the throwback isn't necessarily better than the original card, but
Case in
it's
point.
very narrow. I'm looking at the Hollywood leg drop here.
Okay.
The throwback is a lot more playable because it has a much simpler play restriction. It also does more damage, but it's also got no protections. It's just a 40-30 multi. Which,
But it's multi.
Yeah, and it's RMS, so you don't have to worry about them. We'll just sustain out of it because they've got a bunch of cards they're just going to toss to reduce the damage. But yeah, I tell guys this all the time. We're like, well, you want to make this effect that's plus damage. Increasing damage has a very limited usefulness. It's only really good in the early game. If I play a trademark finisher, it's not going to matter if it's 5 damage or if it's 100 damage. If the first card you flip is, Manager Interferes or Divine Intervention, not that this existed yet, I know, but if you reverse it on the first or second card, who cares how much damage it did? So
right.
bigger
After
damage,
about 10, there's a fall off in effectiveness of damage.
Yeah.
You reverse it on 1.
I hear there's places where that happens.
A lot.
Arenas in California.
Sure did. A lot. Let's move on to the next guy here. Let's see who we got. Let's have a look at these guys.
The Heat Seekers.
Heat Seekers.
Yes, that group that appeared together so often on television.
It was like one of the best stables ever.
Get the fuck out of here.
This was just sort of a counterpoint to the other superstar we'll look at shortly, where those were sort of the good guys, these were the bad guys. And it gave, on its own, a good team because everybody got a card from it that was involved, but it also gave them a launching point for some guys they wanted to produce later, Carlito and the Mexicals. And it gave them the chance to throw in Regal and Tajiri, who are being highlighted pretty regularly on TV around this time.
Yep.
Not necessarily as a top-tier talent, but as consistent, mid-card guys who could always go out there and have good matches.
This was a great card that we added on a side note here. This was a great card that was added when we used to do themed events in SoCal. We had one called the Masquerade event, where you build a deck and then you were randomly given a different superstar. And so it was hard, not hard, but it was a little challenging to go and find superstars that would not destroy your deck theme, but give you some kind of, this was a good one. So in case you were building something, it still had some great ability onto it that you can use with your deck.
As long as you have healer cheater cards, you're up.
Well, even so.
You didn't even need that.
Because then you're cycling to draw 2.
You're still cycling.
That's fair.
So we added even Revolution superstars, stuff like that, like a Sandman or something like that, whatever it was, I can't remember. But just things that would allow you to go ahead and still be able to play your deck, but maybe not have the same tools that you had when you built your deck originally. So you had to be creative with your deck building to kind of just assume I'm not getting my superstar, I'm getting something else.
Right.
But this was always one and that's the only way I ever played this. I never built this deck before. I only got to play because it became a superstar that I randomly selected for my Masquerade game.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, I tried to build everybody. So I did build these guys, but it wasn't too hard for all access. They're more challenging in Afterburn, where you don't have certain tools. But these guys shot up quickly, as in it's all about the game deck, because they have a strong hand size. They've got a great ability, even if you're not searching for heal or cheater cards, to cycle. Too. Yeah, exactly. So I believe James, the Candyman, when he was on, he talked about using them as a very good combo deck in the World Championships that he won. So fetching the heal or cheater card is probably your main focus. They also gave a nice heal card for that scenario of it's all about the game in handcuffed. So they You go get that, and you're either going to make them discard or you're going to draw. It's not going to give you any fortitude, but that's okay. Plus, if you're facing a face deck, which became more vogue with the cards we talked about earlier, handcuff causes, I think, a 1-card discard.
Yep, 1-card discard every time they play a face card.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So that and some other draw cards. Let the Healing Begin. That was another new card that came in this set that said draw cards up to 6 for the number of heal cards you have in your ring. So they could go get that and refill their hand quickly and be able to play more actions and get rolling.
Let's see what else we got here. We got our next guy here. I gotta get myself all set up. Damn it! I wasn't really prepared for this. I don't know what the hell's going on with me. So these guys, monsters.
Yeah, well, they weren't monsters in this release. They were good, but it took another card that came later for them to become great. So the home team is the antithesis of the Heat Seekers. Instead of doing a bunch of hand advantage, they do a bunch of ringside recovery. And it's very efficient ringside recovery, especially since it's going off after damage has been applied by a maneuver that your opponent's hitting you with. So I overturn a reversal, discard 2 cards and shuffle that reversal, and 3 other reversals right back into my deck.
Yep.
And they also have just straight ringside access for their face and fan favorite cards. And there's a lot of very playable face and fan favorite cards.
And what we saw at the World Championships following this set's release, besides the Heat Seekers, was also a home team play where they were great for stalling because you take that reversal in your hand, put it at the bottom of your deck, pick up whatever face or fan favorite card you want. Usually you're picking up a face reversal like Sloppy or Once Is Enough. Once hits, now your Sloppies are going to work off the deck to help stop. And they just became a very strong sponge deck. I know you're getting at that card they got later that helped them even more, which was more powerful than it should be. But but these guys had a natural 9-hand size, so they didn't need to spend a lot of time boosting up. That was already strong. They had a great ability, and their support was pretty decent too. They had 2 reversals that they could both be shoved back. One was for non-unique maneuvers and one was for a submission or high risk. So combining those, since they were fan favorite cards, they could also be picked up and cycled back like we're saying. So we saw a game at the World Championships that went over an hour that involved a lot of draw ability go. I think Frankie was the one piloting that. And I was watching that and in sheer horror that this is what our game could be headed towards. Because the other guy was playing a Stephanie deck, I believe. I want to say he was the UK qualifier winner.
Could be.
Yeah, but he was trying to do the same, but he wasn't as focused
efficient
on that sponging. Yeah, efficient, good word. As the home team was. And the home team just draw, go, what? You're not going to beat me. And then would use just enough strategy to put the opponent away. I don't remember what his kill mechanism was. But man, it was a watching paint dry kind of game.
Yeah, it just sounds painful to watch that kind of stuff.
It was. I was, wake up. Game's still going. Okay. Because here I am trying to judge it and watch it and make sure there's no illegal plays. And I'm like, nobody's playing anything. It's just draw, go, shuffle.
Yeah.
Now, funny bit about this, they were originally called the Chain Gang. And part of that was because once per turn, they were going to discard to pick up a chain maneuver instead. But when they switched to the fan favorite and cheater, they said, well, let's have superstars that highlight that rather than a chain superstar and a heat superstar. The Heat Seekers, by the way, would have had the same ability, but their ability did not remove heat from the game, thus the name.
Interesting.
But they changed that up in favor of the cheater as well there. So they were looking to highlight that and just pivot it over to work on their new feature, which ended up being quite strong as those 2 decks made a great showing at the World Championship immediately before they even got any more support.
Mm-hmm.
What else we got going here? I think we also had, we skipped over one guy.
Yeah.
We skipped over a guy. Don't worry.
He's not too happy about it.
I'm sure. I'm probably gonna have to start doing some push-ups for it. I'm sure.
A 10 hut.
Well, he's got two different superstar cards. Really, that wonderful promo, and
Yes, chin 1 and chin 2.
it's right. We got. Let's have a. Why he won't even load? There we go. He'll load now. I'll make him. Got Mr. Sergeant Slaughter.
There he is. Okay.
Sarge himself, yes.
Yes.
All right. Yes, he was pretty strong coming out the gate. He had trouble getting started, but he got a good tool in this set with the 3-6 something suplex. I know Nate will help me out here.
Oh, I
It's a
remember the
face
card
card.
exists. Oh, yeah, I was just looking at it a little bit ago. Fallaway suplex.
That's it. I was like, modified suplex? No, that's not it. It's something suplex. I don't remember all this stuff. Do you know how many cards I've looked at and created in the last 20 years? Come on.
A couple.
So, yeah, a few.
A few.
But once he got started, he was a scary superstar because, and often underrated, I think, because he could go get Power Slam throwback, Spine Buster throwback, the new Sidewalk Slam throwback. You got an irreversible, maybe your opponent has it. Oh, I guarantee Sarge has it in hand.
Yep.
And when he wants offense, he can just go fetch German suplexes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
he was very versatile right out the gate. Later on, they gave him a very strong, very, very strong opening move that he could fetch with the Cobra Clutch throwback. But
What an annoying card, I swear.
Well, all the Legends got a really strong card because in the set that happened, which is Great American Bash, we've already talked about Cheap Pop.
Yep.
They were also trying to dial down the impact of Jimmy Hart by having cards that could fight against Legend managers. So they wanted to give the Legends back something so that all their power wasn't concentrated in a card that was going to get blown up by Phoenix Rising.
or shoot lockup, guaranteeing free fortitude.
Yep.
But yeah, and that's, I think, because the ability was so strong right off and so versatile. That's one, why he was the promo superstar, because you could run him just with that.
Yes.
And two, why his support in here was more situational and less strong directly. The finisher, it made for a great ultra rare because it's a trademark finisher that also reverses actions.
Mm.
But like the motor pool, originally
I think the motor pool is stronger than it looks. It's just hard to play a venue with a 3 superstar value.
Yes, absolutely. They call it the slaughterhouse originally, but I guess WWE probably said,
Yeah.
no, let's not. But
Peter might have a problem with that.
yeah. And they moved from having it being a discard, which just makes it a pre-played sustained damage, to having it more like the Los Guerreros ability, where you're moving cards from your
Which means
ringside.
it complements sustained damage instead of replacing it.
Right. Very much so. And that's why they gave him a lot of remove from game recovery on his other cards. Like
Boot Camp Match.
Mm-hmm. A 10 hut, I think they also, that you can get one back from that.
I think that's all the superstars we have from this release.
That is all
That
the
is.
superstars from this release.
But we
Very short
have
discussion.
But we
Well,
have. We
there
do
is
have
one card that they all share, which is Violent Vendetta, which calls back to the original set name.
Correct.
And I
Now
mean,
it
it's a
makes more
very
sense.
playable card. 3/3 action, and it's a foreign object, so that keys into foreign object themes, and it just recycles itself. So when you really want to, you can just put it back at the bottom, use something to go fetch it if you have somebody that fetches foreign objects. I mean, nobody that can pack it can fetch foreign objects naturally, but there are cards that fetch foreign objects.
I saw a really good Heat Seekers deck that came later with That's Value. It's all about the game. That's value. -1 pre-match. Who cares? You're tossing all your pre-match away anyway.
Right.
Which also gives you, I didn't mention this, but when you have It's All About the Game Heat Seekers, the remove from game part of their ability can just remove all of those backlash cards you tossed.
Can.
So it really reduces the impact of the cost of that ability. But here, what the guy did was he would use Dim Dam Dudleys to fetch Violent Vendetta to get rid of a card from your hand, get some fortitude, and then he could put that back. And I think he was running no DQ match to make it -3 for both Dim Dam Dudleys and Violent Vendetta. So he could do that turn 1 and then just keep attacking. Throw a Bulldog takedown, throw back, since you had very little hand.
Yeah,
It was
and
mean
you just
deck.
got the fortitude for it.
Yep.
Oh,
All
what else
right.
we got here? We got some other cool stuff in this release, though. For a
Yeah,
small
let's
little
finally-
release, it has a lot of cool tools in it.
Yeah, this is definitely a release that is all killer, no filler.
Now, you asked me once, Tony, because on the sell sheet for Royal Rumble.
Correct, which is I'm getting to. Yeah.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
You asked me, like, was there a buy card? Because the sale sheet talked about it. I went back and looked, and there was one discussed. They talked about having cardboard currency as we know it for a free admission, but also a buy to be able to get a first round buy. And I don't know or recall why, but they decided to not do that. And instead of having the tournament buy, they just went with cardboard currency. They merged that together at one point, and then they just got rid of the buy. It was just a free entry.
Well, think about that buy card for a second. Think about having a 40-player World Championship event where every single person uses that card. The first round is 40 buys.
Well, depending on 40 people had that card, because that damn cardboard currency is very hard to come by.
It is, but having a card that just gives you a buy in a World Championship tournament, that's kind of freakishly strong.
I agree.
It's strong in a weird meta sense because you can only use it once.
Yeah, I think if you want to give people a free entry into a qualifier, that's fine. That's great. Okay, trade a valuable card for some money. But giving people a buy actually changes. It's almost like cheating the system.
Yeah.
So I think they probably said wisely, you know what, let's not do that after all. But the sale sheet was already out. So yeah. Instead, we got this lovely gem.
Yep.
You can't even use it now. It's an expired coupon.
I know. That's what it is. But just, I mean, I wish I had more of them. I mean, at one point I had 4 of these in stock.
Well, I think only 100 were printed.
100 were printed, yeah, I believe.
Yeah, that was crazy low.
And I if I'm not mistaken, I had heard stories that, even Barron was looking to buy them from people.
I'm sure that if anybody had actually tried to use it, Barron would have just given them the $20 and kept it.
Yeah.
Yes, he said as much to me at Gen Con after this came out, but nobody ever did. They knew the value. It was going for like $100 at some point, which is nuts to me that it had more value than a card you could actually play and use.
Correct.
It had more value than its value for being used as a coupon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I could use this to get a free entry into a $20 tournament, or I could sell it and get 5 $20 tournaments. And then someone else can use it for a free entry.
That's right. 'Cause I think did you not get one from me, Creed?
I did.
Yeah.
Because it was the one thing I didn't have for a long time. I finally got one, had one for a couple of years, and said, you know what? Nah. I need the money.
Yeah. I just I couldn't see holding on, and it was just kind of pretty to see 4 of them in a binder at one time. And I got them from someone else. I bought a collection out. This was back when I was at Frankensons, for crying out loud. I bought a collection out that had 2 of these in the binder. That's why I got 2 of them. Yeah. Somebody actually had 2 of them.
That's
and then
nuts.
of course it went away where no one even really cared about this card anymore, as well as they should have. And then in the last year, last 7-8 months, I would say, all of a sudden, wait, that was randomly put in packs or Royal Rumble?
Wait, cardboard currency exists?
It
and then
exists?
you get all these urban legends about how it's acquired and all this shit.
Anybody want to kind of clarify that?
It was in Royal Rumble packs. That was the only place you could get it, was Royal Rumble booster packs.
And there was there was no way that someone like a Baron or Mike was handing these things out to anybody, correct? It was all 100% put in packs.
100% in packs.
That's right.
Because if Baron and Mike had them to hand out, they would have been trying to get them themselves.
Correct. That's what I say. But people were like, no. I remember these being handed out. These were special, like handed out at event. No, they weren't.
Nope.
No.
Fake news.
Yep. Fake news. Exactly. So, and that's
probably more
rush.
Mandela effect.
That's what started the rush on the Royal Rumble box, because the Royal Rumble boxes for quite a long time were still very readily available because nobody really wanted to buy those boxes. It wasn't a very big set. It was just, 89 or 85 cards.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because from my point of view, I was somebody who always had multiple decks. I don't mean like 2 or 3, like 8 to 12 decks built at any given time.
Yep.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm looking at like I need more of this set because I need to get more once is enough
Yes.
for, my face decks. I need to get more of these volley cards. I need to get more of this. So the base set was strong enough that it really warranted getting more product in addition to I'm chasing the ultra rares and I'm looking
Yeah.
to get 4 violent vendettas or whatever.
Do you guys know from a production standpoint, were these boxes as readily available as a normal booster box, or were they limited because it was a holiday set?
I believe they were as readily available, but I am not 100% on that.
Ditto.
Because I'm pretty sure like stuff like the Ultimate, Raw and SmackDown tins, those were, I mean, you could still find those. I mean, they're not that hard to come by as far as.
Yeah, they were pretty widely produced. I'm relatively certain that Royal Rumble had a regular production.
So I'm assuming that Royal Rumble is the same thing. It was just, a normal production, wasn't short printed by any means.
No.
That jives with what I can remember. Yeah.
So that's why I think the craziness now has become like, trying to find this card. That's why I think a lot of it boosted the sales of the box in the last 7 to 8 months, is because people are looking for this card. Yet I see everybody like, Hills Wholesale and Potomac, they completely sold out of stuff. And I have not heard anybody saying, hey, guess what? I bought a box. I bought the last boxes from Potomac and I pulled this card. I still haven't heard anybody that I know of recently that's pulled this card from a pack. I mean,
Yeah.
I can almost say
I heard back in the
Well,
day that
think about it. This is a widely produced set. So we got boxes and boxes and boxes and cases and cases and cases, and there's 100 of these things.
Exactly.
I believe Baron had said that he went through like 7, 8, 9 boxes. No, boxes is kind of low. I think he went through like 6 cases, and supposedly Bruce Stark had gone through like 8 cases, and between them, they had maybe 1 cardboard currency. Maybe, or maybe they didn't get any.
Well,
I've slept since then, but I'm sure somebody could dig it up if they want to go through the old Ask Barons, which I didn't have time to do this time around. So
it's a big time card. Everybody's looking for that card all the time, and I held on to it for the longest time just for nostalgia purposes, and I finally just had made it available. I don't have any use for this. I mean, I don't have any Raw Deal cards in my possession, so why would I want to hold on to this one?
For somebody who hasn't watched the Virtual One breakdown, I'll throw this in. We actually were talking about a concept called money, where like the McMahons obviously would have money, and Crime Time could steal money, and DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, would obviously have money.
He did a 5 of them because money, 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 money.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
We never did figure out what it could do, but one of the things we wanted to incorporate was that if you had a cardboard currency, you could use it in place of a money card, because it would finally give this card some game functionality in some fashion.
Wow.
But we never did figure out what money was supposed to do. So.
Well, it makes the world go around, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you couldn't buy happiness with it, so what's the point?
That's true.
The love of it is the root of all evil. So.
Yes, exactly.
What do we got here?
But as we're digging through all these boxes trying to find cardboard currency, we're going to get a lot of box toppers.
Yes, and those box toppers, let's talk about those. I mean, we had 5 cards in there that were basically corrections to some errors that they made in previous releases. Now, were all the errors from SS3, or wasn't there a couple cards that were not from SS3, though?
No, it was 5 cards from Survivor Series 3. One of them was as simple as it didn't have the SS3 logo.
Correct.
But there was...
now, what 5 cards are we talking about here now?
The straps are down.
Yep, that was the one that was missing the SS3 logo, right?
I think so.
Yes.
The icon, the showstopper, was missing something.
It was missing
It was
Shawn
missing
Michaels'
the
logo.
Shawn Michaels logo, which was hilarious.
Yes.
Everybody's the icon. Snitsky is the icon, the showstopper, the stinkiest main eventer of all time. Top rope elbow drop was missing the Raw logo, I believe.
Yes.
An overhand chair shot was a 5-0
missing
instead of a
damage.
5-5.
Missing the damage.
That's kind of important.
And there's a 5th one now. What's the 5th one? I thought there was 5 cards, correct?
There are. I'm not putting you on the spot, Nate. I just don't
I can't think of it off the top of my head right now.
I'm drawing a blank.
That doesn't exist yet.
Yeah. I can't.
Bit anachronistic.
Was it 5 cards or was it only 4?
It was definitely 5. It was 5 cards that plummeted in value. I mean, granted, top rope elbow drop wasn't exactly a big trading item as a starter deck, but the icon, the showstopper, suddenly, you couldn't give that away because, well, we're giving it away.
I want to say it was a Stephanie card.
There was a Stephanie card that had a misprint later, but
Yeah,
that
it
was
was missing.
after.
It was missing the SmackDown on it.
Yeah, it was just down.
Yeah.
I think.
It was
Yeah,
missing the
just down,
smack.
it's just down. It's just smack. But I can't remember if it was a superstar specific or a non-superstar. I think they were all superstar specifics, except for overhand chair shot.
I think you're right. Let me see while we talk here. I see if I can find it because there might have been a mention of it in one of the playtest documents.
Because I do have
for it.
overhand
I'm
chair shot listed under the
combing through
SS3.
Yes,
I don't
here
recall.
it is. It's Luthez Press was the other one. It was
That's right,
printed as
That's
a
right.
straight
Luthez
reversal.
Press was
Correct.
printed as a non-hybrid card.
Correct. And it should have been. It was all red.
Yeah, but they made it, unlike the original, they made it as a maneuver also so it can finally be playable
Hmm.
as a high risk, which I wish
They-
they'd done with
They just forgot
Facebuster.
to actually update the template.
Yes.
oops. That's
So
kind of important.
Those were some pretty cool. It was that's the one and only time they ever did a box topper for Raw Deal. I mean,
Mhm.
you thought, oh, I got something. I remember when I first opened up my first box, I go, oh, I got a bonus out of this, man. It's some random thing, you know, and like, oh no, every box has that, Tony. Oh well, that's not so fun anymore then.
Sorry, it's not for you specially.
Damn it. I really thought I had something going there, but basically, so those made corrections from SS3.
Yep.
Right.
So, which is a nice little segue into going into that product, which is, you know, here we have Survivor Series 3, a very large
Oh,
and
yes.
ambitious set.
This was one of the craziest things they did, just in the expansion of it all. They'd done, obviously, just by the name, they'd done 2 previously.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
It was a nice reprint, best of, and we got to see some alternate versions of
and you
cards
see a lot of
and
throwbacks,
superstars,
and you know, we Brian and I talked about this briefly, you know, a little bit about when we're talking about, you know, what killed Raw Deal, which of course I always hate that phrase because I mean, like we talked about before, Creed, you know, here we are, 11th release just came out of virtual, so I don't think it's dead.
Yeah, 20 years later,
Yeah, but
longest running card game since Magic.
but a lot of stuff, a lot of people became upset with about this release.
Well, there were some people that referred to it instead of SS3 as $3.
Okay.
Because it
Yeah,
was
there were some things in this set that looked like they were very pro-consumer that were less pro-consumer than you would like.
Well-
My first thought is
Go
the
ahead.
Rumble Packs. So Rumble Packs are an awesome idea in theory, because the idea is that in Survivor Series 1 and Survivor Series 2, there were starter decks for every superstar. Survivor Series 3 had, 60 superstars? Some preposterously high number that you could never possibly do starter decks in that volume. So you'd have a fuck ton of superstars in the premium rare slot, and then that's just gumming up the packs. So, okay, we're going to be pro-consumer. We're going to make these Rumble packs. These are small packs that are $10 a piece, and they have superstar-specific cards and nothing else for a bunch of superstars in them. So you find the superstar that you want to play, buy his Rumble pack, boom, you have all his cards. And to round out the numbers, we'll throw in other things that need to be in the set, but we don't want to put in packs, like the Back to Basics maneuvers. And some throwbacks of old stuff that we want in Afterburn, but we don't want to come up the boosters with. The key issue with Rumble packs is that when you open a Rumble pack, you get every card for that superstar in single, which is great if that superstar has all unique cards. If they have non-unique cards, you have one of a card that you can pack 3 of. And for guys like the Hurricane, those
Mhm.
one cards you can pack 3 of are throwbacks. So you can't supplement with older versions of the cards because they do different things. So now if I want a play set of the Hurricane, I have to buy 2 more Hurricane Rumble packs, which is okay for retailers because it's still driving their Rumble pack sales. But for the people that actually want those Hurricane cards, okay, now I have 2 extra sets of Austin and Stacy that I have no use for. What am I going to do with this?
Granted, having extra Austin cards, and Stacy, one would say, isn't such a terrible idea because those are guys who might be more generally appealing. And so maybe Joe, the casual fan, says, well, I don't care too much about the Hurricane, but, you know, I love Stone Cold and Stacy's hot. So
Yeah,
theoretically,
I mean, look who's front and center on this packaging.
yeah, not the, you know,
It's weird that it's not Austin.
Yeah.
yeah, he's you know, X-time world championship iconic figure, but he's standing in the shadow of Stacy Keibler. Or, you know, maybe he's secretly checking her out from behind, you know. Hey, nice.
What?
I don't know.
Well,
Give me a hell yeah.
yeah.
What?
But with over 40
Uh,
superstars, they really had to come up with a good way. And as you said, I think they did a good method in that regard. But one of the problems was those single copies of non-uniques, especially when they were throwbacks. If they were just shiny versions of the originals, okay, well then only, you know, psychos like me are going to go out and get a whole case of Rumble packs just because they want to have 3 foils for Hurricane and 3 foils for the Hurrifriends. But
I mean, you could
when
have
they
like
were
in that Rumble
throwbacks,
pack for like for Hurricane Slat. I mean, you could have just ditched back to basics, armbar, and diversion throwback, which what came in those Rumble packs, and then added at least, you know, some more support for Hurricane.
You
or
could
move
have,
those
but they
enforcers.
didn't.
Yeah, move those enforcers to somebody else's set.
Correct. Yeah, and the 2 enforcers as well.
But it was cute having all foil back to basics, and it gave them a way to reprint it without taking up space in the packs.
But
That's
goddamn, was I upset when I saw that No Chance in Hell throwback was in a Rumble pack. Because
yeah,
I'm gonna want like 10 of those.
yeah. You as the Vince player, of course you do.
Yeah.
Part of the thing they did manage to fix later, and I suggested, and apparently I was not alone, was let's get some of these into starter decks. They won't be
Yes.
foil, but at least then people can get more copies of Spinebuster. So when the Batista starter came out, of course, it had 1 Spinebuster in it, throwback, and they were able to sort of help with some of the outrageous demand that came because of all these throwbacks. Gosh,
They did puppies, but originally it was only a foil version in SS3, and they added it into a starter deck as a non-foil. They also
That was in
did,
the Teddy Long starter, right?
I think so,
Something like
yes.
that.
And then they
Yeah.
also did diversion.
Yeah,
So there's a few of them that were actually they did as a non-foil version later on.
yeah. Puppies did have a foil version originally in Survivor Series 1.
One,
There were
yes.
12 cards that
Yeah.
were back then high demand, but maybe those didn't hold up as much now, like Samoan Drop,
Samoan Drop, I think Super Kick,
Super Kick. Yeah.
Manager.
Foil manager is always going to be in demand.
Yeah,
because
it's always in
manager
demand.
fears.
I just finished boxing up that stuff. I've had it for several weeks here now. I've a couple weeks. I've had this lot that I bought recently here in Phoenix, and it seemed to cause a little bit of a stir when I did a video kind of outlining what came in it. And all of a sudden I said, I can't do that. I got some people who are angry about it, like offering me money for things that off-site that I didn't want. I can't do that. That's not fair to people that
Yeah.
wish list owners. So I'm finally getting
Right.
around to shipping it off to Mike so he can go and add it to inventory. But there was, some foil manager interferes in there, which is kind of cool. You know, both the original ones and SS3 versions.
Oh, nice. They did do a nice
Speaking of
version
the
of.
throwbacks. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say they did a good job, at least, of organizing a lot of these non-specific cards into the Rumble pack so they make sense. So I'm looking over the list here, and like Enter the Stratosphere came with Trish. That makes sense.
Yep.
Of course, the Spinebuster goes with Rock because he has a card that lets him look for Spinebuster. Oh,
His throwback ability lets him look for people's elbow when he plays Spinebuster.
that's it. I knew there was some correlation there. So by putting those cards in, they sort of at least gave a little more value.
So
Maybe
Go.
pulling a collar and elbow lockup isn't so special in a certain one, but having
Right.
the maintain hold with Benoit when he's got a maintainable, superstar specific card makes a little more sense.
So talking about the throwback superstars, there's something I wanted to touch on that I was thinking about when we were setting this up. So one of the things that they did in this set is have throwback superstar abilities. And another thing they did in this set was consolidating a lot of the riders that were on cards into the superstar ability.
Mm-hmm.
Those are great individual thoughts. In tandem, they cause problems sometimes. And I'm going to pick out a particular superstar that it caused a lot of problems to, and that's Bubba Ray Dudley. Bubba Ray Dudley has a throwback superstar ability for really no reason. His superstar ability is the same. It might have a minor number tweak. But all those cards that make him not discard for his ability when you play them, all that not discard text move to Bubba's ability, which is a throwback ability. Those cards were not throwbacks. They were MRPs. So this is a very edge case because it only affects one superstar, but it is really annoying that if you want to play Bubba Ray Dudley, every previous edition of WWE Dudley is effectively a coaster now because the throwback exists, and therefore he is the only one that is viable.
We did
It
see
pops
some
up in a
cases.
couple other weird places too, like if Edge plays original faceplant, he can shuffle 8 because he gets 4 from his ability and 4 from the text. Because the throwback faceplant moved that text to Edge's superstar card.
There was a few of those. I'm thinking there's one with Austin where it's you get a perk, but they move the perk from card A to card B, so you had to have the throwback of card B.
It's
DTA maybe?
Throwback DTA.
Yeah.
Bionic Redneck would make DTA irreversible, but Bionic Redneck was not thrown back. It was an MRP. So Bionic Redneck just says pick up a maneuver from ringside to hand. DTA is a throwback that says it cannot be reversed when Bionic Redneck is in your ring. So original DTA doesn't have that text because it was on Bionic Redneck. Because DTA came first. So now original DTA is worthless. You need the throwback DTA to get the irreversibility. And without the irreversibility, it's a 1 fortitude mid-match action. It's just going to get blown up.
Yeah, that explains
And that's
why
annoying because it's in the ultra rare slot, which is going to segue into the next thing I'm going to talk about with SS3, is that the ultra rare slot in that set was ridiculously packed full of a insane amount of reprints of ultra rares because there's so many superstars to support.
More than 40, by the way.
Yeah,
I think it's 43 I counted.
that sounds about right. And some of those ultra rares are throwbacks that you can only get in this set.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of one card in particular. Can anybody guess what it's on my mind?
No, I'm thinking of a couple cards.
I think of a couple of cards myself. I think a couple of them. I got
Probably
first,
the top
first
of the
to
list.
tap.
First to tap.
Yep. And we've also
First
got
to tap.
foot stomp throwback.
Let's not
Yep.
throwback, yes. And the other big
Those
one was
two.
springboard dropkick.
That's another one.
Springboard
Yep.
Dropkick was less so because the throwback is nice, but the original is still fairly playable because it's non-unique.
And what about Ayatollah?
I mean,
Yeah.
Ayatollah is there, but it's not in the tier of patented rock foot stomp throwback or first to tap throwback.
Yeah, in the case of springboard dropkick, I believe that the original is a 12-18, so it's a huge fortitude jump offensively. But defensively, it only reversed something like roll out of the ring.
Yeah, it reverses roll out of the ring.
Whereas
And the throwback
now,
is a 17-13 that reverses any action.
yeah, so you got a higher price point to get into it, but you can hit any action. Yeah, that's going to be far more useful as a reversal. And
it's also unique as opposed to being non-unique.
Yeah. So you get one shot at it rather than 3.
Same with the foot stomp throwback is now unique as opposed to being non-unique.
Yeah, but it's also a 0-5 that gets +1 damage for every super specific in your ring, as opposed to being a 5-5 that just shovels back a couple cards.
Yeah.
So Rock is now throwing an
0-10s that he can search for.
Yeah, no elbow, a multi, and once is enough doesn't exist yet.
Yeah.
So
for a
yeah,
very
he
short
finds that.
period.
For a very short period of time.
Yeah. Eugene also loved that card.
Of course. I was going to mention Eugene. Yep.
Takes him a little longer to get to the past elbow stage, but he can still very effectively just throw that in. And,
so SS3 was what, 2005?
Yes.
So 15 years later, patented rock foot stomp throwback and first to tap throwback are still going for triple-digit value. Think about it.
Yeah,
and
the last
springboard and dropkick.
Well, they all are now. Yes, the last foot stomp throwback sold on through a Facebook page through private, through messaging site, sold for $250.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm seeing stuff like, well, of course, later release we had Armageddon's Upon Us. Those are selling consistently now for $145.
Well, it makes sense because the farther away we get from the release, the dwindling number of copies there are.
Correct.
Sure, Bob might say, you know what, I never play these cards. Let me just get rid of them. But mostly, you can't go out and buy a box.
Yeah.
No, but this is, I'm not going to get into it, but this opens up a whole different discussion that I have put out for asking for some people to be taking part of, because I have a serious thought process when it comes to, I'll just say when we're proxies. And going forward, that's kind of something that I want to discuss with some people and have another episode where we talk about proxies and its effect on the market. Because I'm seeing a negative effect because of it, to be honest with you. But neither here nor there. So we're back to SS3. So
Yes.
One other thing we got that was fun for wacky collectors like me was getting foil versions of booster pack cards.
Yes.
And that was
There was
just,
a foil slot in every pack, right?
I think so.
Every pack had one foil card. You're guaranteed one foil in it.
Unless it was a hot pack, in which case you just got the same 12 ultra rares like you normally did.
Quality problem. I went through so much of this that it actually became not like, hey, I got a hot pack. Like, oh, okay, here's a hot pack. Let's see what's in it.
Yeah.
Just because I went through multiple cases of this.
My first SS3 pack was a hot pack, so everything from there was just falling action.
My first
Yeah.
box that I opened, because I opened a few at Origins, I think is where it first came out.
Yes, that's
And
correct.
You can't really
I
see
was-
it, but it does tell you you get one, includes one all foil card.
yeah, there we
Yep.
go. As opposed to what, the half foil cards they were putting out before?
Correct.
Well, and that also opened the point that in
All
SS3, because
foil.
there's so many foils, they redid how they did foils. So in every set previous to this, and actually every set after this, foil cards in Raw Deal have parts of them that are not actually foiled to give kind of like a two-step effect. In SS3, they just put foil on the whole damn thing so that they didn't
Yeah.
have to do all that editing and typesetting per card. No, we're doing so many foils, just foil the whole damn thing.
Yeah, that's a good point. I remembered that, but I hadn't remembered that like fresh in my memory until you brought it up. You can look at some of the older versions where you just see the whole thing in the like Survivor Series 3 version, whereas in the original you see like Stone Cold is not foil, so
Right.
he stands out a little more.
Correct.
Interesting. I'm gonna have to go back and look at those cards to kind of see that again.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah.
Indeed. But the first pack I opened had a foil in it that was pretty good.
Hmm.
It might have been like a paid laden made, one of those that was going to be
Hey,
in
there
high
was a
demand.
paid laden made in my hot pack.
Then I opened like 5 packs more, and I hit a hot pack, first box, like 5 or 6 packs in,
Mhm.
and it had a Ric Flair interferes and one of the big 3. I don't remember if it was foot stomp or first tap.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, all right. What am I going to find in
Speaking
the
of
rest
Ric
of these packs
Flair
now?
interferes, god damn! I wish somebody could just consistently interfere in Triple H's matches. You got China, you got Stephanie, now you got Ric Flair. Pick somebody, Hunter.
Yes.
That was also really annoying for Afterburn because you have these 2 versions of practically the same card that you can't use. You have to use Ric Flair.
Yep, have to use Ric Flair. But hey, you can use your China and Stephanie in your 2-man power trip deck because they're not
Well, not
Afterburn legal anyway.
Did,
So, yeah, this was actually the set that made me stop collecting for every single superstar as such.
Oh,
Like
God.
previous to this point, if there was what's a good example of a remake? Okay, Rock and People's Champ. And I'd collect a set for him, and then I had to get a second copy for People's Champ. And obviously 2-man power trip I mentioned. So you got to have Austin and Rattlesnake and 2-man. When I got here, I just went, no.
Nope.
You know what? Let's combine these together. We have a Christian / leader of the population. We have a Triple H / the game. 2-man
Slash
power
2-man
trip is
power
a
trip.
complete. No, that they were a completely separate superstar. So I went ahead and kept them as their own set.
You're
But
mad,
I
man,
was-
Creed.
I was also maintaining a Eugene's full set. So that really made the decision easier to say, okay, but we're not going to do the remakes as separate sets anymore. No.
Yeah, I bought a case of that stuff when it came out. My not my first box, but my second box that I opened up, I got a hot pack out of it. But I was a little bit better with my hot pack, I think. I pulled both the tap and a foot stomp in the same hot pack.
Oh,
Nice.
not bad.
I
Did
had a
you
bunch of
sell
other
them both
garbage.
for $4 because they had guys on them?
No. By then I was I was well versed by that time. Never gonna live that down. I swear to God. In the SoCal area, we had a player named Gopala Young, so like that. He was the guy that came in and he bought my paid laid made off me for $5 because he knew that I didn't know what the cards were. And after that, I said no more. When Baron finally showed me the game and kind of taught me the game a little bit better, I understood more. I'm like, those motherfuckers, man, they're taking advantage of me. Never again. So
Never, ever again.
nope. But yeah, that was I was really ecstatic about that. You're getting that hot pack like that. And I think every case I opened, I got at least one hot pack. I mean, and I ended up buying more boxes later. What bummed me out was when I was at Frankenson, there was a vendor an aisle over that was a wholesale specialist. And by this time now, Comic Images stopped producing raw deal cards. We're getting close to it anyways. They're closing out all their old previous non-revolution stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I had already bought all this Velocity, Insurrection, SS2, Divas Overload, and Vengeance boxes. I bought all this stuff, real cheap because they bought them all out from Comic Images. Then they were going back for the second wave to buy everything that was after Vengeance, which was SS3 and everything else like that. Well, I wanted in on that stuff. I wanted cases of that stuff. I bought one case of everything before that. I wanted to get 2 to 3 cases of everything after that. I never got them from those guys. He said that it was the Orozco brothers. They said that they literally purchased it, went from their truck to other trucks that bought it from them directly at a profit to them, obviously, which went to mostly Targets and Walmarts, he said. But I had never seen a Target and Walmart packaging things up with SS3s and Armageddon. That kind of. I never seen that.
No, I never saw that.
I didn't see that, but I do remember walking into a Walmart and in their card section they had like a pack of Velocity and some other thing. Get 2 packs of WWF Superstars or WWE, and I bought one just for kicks. Of course, at this point we were a couple years removed from those sets, so it's kind of like, oh yeah, I remember these cards. Okay, this other pack, I remember these cards. Crap! Now I need to file this. Yeah, but now I have to stop and file these old cards. Like,
I ran into something. I did a convention in Texas. I was with Nash. We did a Victoria Comic Con, and we stopped at a store. I think it was a Walmart, and I found a box like that had both raw deal cards in it and old Fleer wrestling trading cards in it. So it was like 10 packs of like classic WWE, WWF stuff like that, and it had like, I want to say like Velocity and Insurrection in there, something like that, with like Fleer's Divas some Diva set, and then WrestleMania set. So I bought it, and I got nothing out of it, but it was only like $15 for the pack of 10 packs.
Sounds like you got some value out of it, at least the joy of opening packs.
That's what I'm looking for right now, is the joy of opening packs, and I'm just because I'm back into the hobby of collecting wrestling cards, so not so much the new stuff, but more old stuff. And I found a guy down the street here who's got this, old 2002 Ultimate Diva collection stuff, but what's $120 for that box? I go, do you realize that all the good stuff in that box, like all the Kiss cards and like that, were all done by Redemption? Fleer's not a company anymore.
well. Yeah, I do miss that a lot, the ability to open a pack and not know what you're going to get. Even if I know all the cards in the set, it's, okay, what's about to happen? Let's find out.
Yeah.
I miss that. I mean, there's no surprises for me anymore. The closest thing I got to this was when I stepped away from Raw Deal and the other guys started producing virtual, was to go back and say, oh, you're making him. Oh, hey, that looks pretty cool. What's this do? Oh, okay. And even then, there's no packs. You just, it's set. There it is.
I mean, you could try and pick up some closeouts of Warlord, get back into that. The look on your face.
Talk about a love-hate relationship. That's a whole nother conversation.
That's an abusive relationship is what it is.
You guys can have that conversation on your own.
Yeah. Sure. There was a point where Magic started producing, and I have no idea the success if they dropped this immediately or what, but late 2010, 2011, somewhere in that time frame, they started producing 2-sided cards. So you'd have like a werewolf and have a human version, and then you could flip him over and get the wolf ability. And I thought that was fascinating.
Not to derail into a Magic discussion,
sure,
but the most recent set, Zendikar Rising, has double-sided cards, but they don't transform so much as you choose to play one side or the other when you play the card.
Okay.
And it's causing massive problems with their tournament scene.
I can see that, especially where people have sleeve cards, so they got to throw a proxy down the table.
It's not a logistical problem; it's a gameplay problem. But again,
that
this
sounds
is not
like
the place to talk about that.
That sounds like a Magic problem. Wouldn't know.
It does.
Yep.
And we're just a bunch of muggles here. We're not Magic people. But my point with that is that for that minute, I actually went in and bought some Magic cards that just to explore that and just to be able to open a pack and go, oh, here's one of those double-sided ones. Okay, that's pretty cool. And unfortunately, my roommate played Magic, so it was kind of like, hey, I bought you a bunch of cards. Here you go, pre-open packs.
I did buy, I'll say, I will admit this. I did buy 3 or 4 packs when I was at Frankenstein's one time, and just say, you know what? Let's see what this Magic thing's about. I don't plan on playing, but let's see if I can pull something out of it that's, worthwhile. And Mike was with me. Mikey was with me, my partner, and I pulled some $50 card out of it. I didn't even know that. So I sold it immediately. It's like, wow, that's pretty easy. Maybe I'll just start selling Magic stuff. I never got around to buying more Magic, and I'm glad I never did. I just don't want to get involved in it. I don't know anything about it, nor do I care to know anything about it.
And price points on Magic cards are pretty volatile from what I can remember.
I actually had a point where I a couple years ago, I thought maybe I should get into Magic, to have that fun, have that opening packs, to have that acquiring things. And somebody kind of clued me in on the ballpark, what I'd be looking at. I was like, on second thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think nowadays, especially if you want to play Magic, the first thing you should do is download Magic Arena, because not only is it going to teach you to play the game, but you can get cards on Magic Arena without paying money. So that can give you some of the thrill of, hey, I opened this pack, let's see what I got, without signing away your life savings.
Sounds fair.
But anyway,
Back to Raw Deal.
Back to SS3 now. So where do we actually leave off?
You can just edit all this out, right?
I don't know. I just it's a lot of work.
but the long-winded point being, man, it was fun to open packs and not know what you were going to get.
It
Correct.
sure was.
Back in Mania, I think it was, I stopped by my regular game store on the way home, and I distinctly remember that was the first time I got a hot pack. I'd heard of them, but I didn't get any on Fully Loaded or whenever they started. And the set had just come out. I was already going to get my order. I was waiting for it to come in. But man, I just wanted to see some of the new stuff. So I stopped in and bought some packs, got a hot pack, and it had both of the Rob Van Dam Ultra Rares in it. And I was like,
Sorry.
okay, I'll take a Rob Van Dam deck also, please. Thank you. I'm going to go home and load this right now. And then I'll get whatever comes when my shipment comes in.
And then when you got home, you completely marked out, right?
A little bit.
A little bit.
But, he was still pretty cool back at the time and quite worn out his welcome.
It's free agent now, my understanding.
Yeah, I think he's over on Impact, TNA.
Nope,
whatever.
he's done.
He's done with Impact. He's a free
Done.
agent now.
Free agent. He's working on some projects with WWE right now. He said.
Well, he's got enough star power that he can just show up every couple years, big pop
Yeah,
for the Royal
5-star
Rumble or
power,
whatever.
in fact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
5-star. Yeah, and it can do his his same 3 moves and we're done.
3 moves. Come on, he's got at least 4. He's
All
got
right.
the monkey flip. He's got the Van Daminator, the
Yeah.
Van Terminator, which is the same fucking thing. 5-star frog splash.
Okay.
Oh, Rolling Thunder.
There you go. There's
All
4.
right. All right, let's just start quoting out raw deal cards. Okay. So here we have the backside of the sales sheets like that. This was the breakdown of that release.
Mm-hmm.
Anything of note about this release that's special? I mean, obviously we have a shit ton of cards here. I mean, it's a huge set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just looking at this, 140 ultra rares.
And somewhere in there are the throwbacks you need.
Yep.
Yeah.
So not only do you have to get an ultra rare, which is what, 1 out of every 10 packs?
Ish.
Okay, so you have a 1 in 1,400 chance when you open a pack that you get the ultra rare you want.
And were there? We talk about those money cards like that. They were short printed. My understanding is right. Those were short printed versions.
That
to my knowledge.
sounds like
It's just
urban
that's
legend.
just the sheer number that makes them seem harder to come by. Plus, we're not talking about like, hey, this great ultra rare for Bubba Ray Dudley. We're talking about a rock card, which is also good in the People's Chant. We're talking about Stone Cold. So you got Stone Cold, the Rattlesnake, 2-man power trip.
Yeah.
Ric Flair interferes.
Even
2-man
first
power trip,
attack
and then
is
later on DX.
First
Right.
attack is Angle,
Is-
your freaking hero, Benoit, Crippler.
Yeah, that's not as quite as driven at the star power as those other ones I named, but it still makes the same
your freaking
point.
hero and Crippler were well-played superstars.
Sure, but just on star power alone.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
for sure.
For the people who play not so much for the game, but play because they're playing their favorite superstars. Of course, they're going to want Stone Cold, Rock, Jericho, these big names, all of which have remakes. So, I don't play Jericho, but I play Highlight of the Night, which was a nice fix, by the way, that they threw in.
They gave him a throwback.
Highlight and Leader of the Edge Army.
Edge Army got a throwback as well.
Apparently, they were worried.
Right,
they were
goofy.
They were worried in Vengeance testing that the abilities were a little too good, so at the last minute they toned them down. So what we saw as the throwbacks for those two superstars was actually what they were intended to be. Baron, I believe, called it the cure for overplay testeritis.
Sounds very technical.
You see what happens when you make knee-jerk reactions at the last minute.
What do we have here? So looking at all the breakdowns of Survivor Series 3, I mean, it was such a massive set.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you know what this set had that is also notable? It had two cards that had not been reprinted for a very long time. Those cards were Jerichoholics and Because I Am That Damn Good.
That is very true.
Correct.
The Survivor Series 2 release, they had promo versions for those that they were going to just send out. And I guess there was a big to-do. There was rumblings of possible legal action, because they bought all these exclusive tins that had those cards. And now suddenly, what, you're just reprinting them? I thought you said. And at that point, they said, okay, never mind. And they actually destroyed the promos except for a bunch that were sent overseas. And for the people who still have them, and it took me a while to get mine, the people who still have a copy of those got them because of that quantity that was sent overseas. Otherwise, here in the States, they were destroyed. With Survivor Series 3, I asked Baron, and they said, you know what? We don't care. We're done worrying about that. We're done trying to please these people. We want to put the cards in people's hand. Of course, then they threw back Jerichoholics, so it really didn't matter. But Because I Am That Damn Good, it was great to have a nice new foil version that you could use in two-man power Triple H game and later on DX.
And not have to chase down. Because I Am That Damn Good is a damn good card to begin with. 10 Fortitude to hit any maneuver? Yeah, I'll take it.
Was it draw 3?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a much better version than Manager Interferes.
Oh, yeah. I remember one of the first tournaments I went to back when my girlfriend and her daughter actually played the game. This was before Backlash decks existed. Mm-hmm. So it was fully loaded, and we weren't very good. We just played at home. We didn't realize what tournament quality play looked like yet. But she was playing Stone Cold Steve Austin. And so I can hear her playing her game further down the table, and I hear her go, Stone Cold Stunner? I was like, yes, finally, we're doing some good here. And flip. Oh, China interferes. Or not China interferes. Yeah, I guess Manager. It must have been.
Yeah.
No, it was China, because China hits anything. I was thinking it was Because I Am That Damn Good, but no, it was China.
Yeah, because Damn Good reverse is not true finisher.
I was like, oh, she almost got it.
Hey, she just 3 stun.
But back then, that was a great card for a guy who was already strong with a natural 10 hand size.
Mm-hmm.
And now he could reverse and draw 3 more cards. Like,
did they have Help Us on the Way came in this one too, right?
Yes.
Correct, because Tori was not with the company for years and years, and they wanted to put something in that slot. So it's the same Ric Flair interferes thing. Help Is on the Way is just Tori enters the fray. But unlike Ric Flair, it doesn't have a different stat line. It is the same card.
Yeah, and it goes for big money now too. So
the only thing that changes is instead of saying strike, grapple, submission, it says non-trademark finisher. Which is good and bad for all access play. That's great for regular play. If you get a submission plus trademark finisher, it can't reverse it, whereas Tori could. But it's a small difference.
Yeah.
We're just very glad that Kane was put on that card, which didn't make much sense at the time. Barely. There was that brief time where Tori was running around with Kane as an angle.
Yeah.
But man, it's a good thing because all the rest of the logos on that card, those guys are long since gone from the WWE.
Right.
What did this release have? How did it affect tournament play and gameplay that time?
Well, it created it was basically the cornerstone for the Afterburn era.
Yep.
So if they were going to let's try having a block system here. We had reached a point where a lot of people said, no, we don't want that. But this was the launching point to do it. This was where new people could come in without needing all of the old cards. I experienced this in another game, Warlord, in fact, and went, okay, this is actually a good thing. So when Mike was talking to me at Gen Con 2004, he's like, what do you guys think about a block system? I was like, I've spoke out about it a lot in the past, but I've seen the light. I think it's good, and it will let new people come in without having to go back and find a not today cupcake or whatever old card that might be good.
Without having to find stare down
right
opponent and do you like pie?
Yeah, some random thing like that.
But it also has a flip side to that too.
Unfortunately, the way they did SS3 also meant it was less approachable because, like you said, well, I like The Rock. I need this new foot stomp card. Good luck. There's
And
140
also,
ultra rares.
to avoid pissing off the people that had been collecting for 10 sets by now, they kind of hedged their bet with Afterburn. Like, hey, if something's throwback, you can use the original as long as it's the same name too. Which I can see why they did it, but I kind of wish that they hadn't, because that kind of cut off the legs of the whole Afterburn as a block rotation system thing. Because SS3 gated in a lot of old cards.
It did, and usually they chose wisely so that sometimes it was just simple. Junky old maneuver that hasn't aged well, or throwback that's actually somewhat useful. Well, of course I'm going to use a throwback. But
Right.
there were edge cases where the original was still playable and, as you said, got gated in.
Or the throwback enabled the original, or the original enabled the throwback. Like, we're talking No Chance in Hell throwback with Don't Cross the Boss original. So if you want those 0 Fortitude No Chances, you have to track down an original Don't Cross the Boss. Because
that was
text
kinda
got shuffled
silly.
around, and it was cute, but from a design standpoint of pure Afterburn, it meant that Afterburn just felt kind of lesser because, I can't do this cool trick that you intentionally put in. What's going on here, pal? Unless you
Yeah.
just let me put in the original, and then, okay, now I have to chase down an original so I can do the cool trick that you put in intentionally. What's going on here, pal?
It just seems like it's a big ass set that there's a lot, especially with a lot of word changings like that. I mean, how much time? I mean, were you guys part of the play testing for SS3?
I was
No,
not.
I came in on the very back end because I had just started doing the rules manager thing. So I got shown a document, and they said, okay, look this over, see what you think. And there was a few things I pointed out that were just minor corrections, or shouldn't this be? One of the things I did point out, and it's a weird card that ended up in the set, but I remembered that Baron had promised that at some point they would reprint Why the Hell Are We Back? I think it is. Find that.
Yes, it was Why the Hell Are We Back? It was the original Gen Con promo.
Yeah.
No, it was the
Because
second
that
Gen
had-
Con promo. The original was Why the Hell Are We Here, which was reprinted in SS2.
The problem with that was it was one of the few cards that let you put back a backlash card, I think. I'm looking for it here. But
Because it's Why the Hell Are We Back, so it puts back the backlash card.
there it is. Put one backlash deck card from your ringside pile into your backlash. There was a point where Baron had said, "Don't worry, if this card is in high demand, we'll reprint it in the next Survivor Series." And I looked at the sheet and went, "We don't actually have this on there." So I don't remember what it was they took out, but it was one of those minor cards that was like, okay, it's not going to break anything. It was like out of 59 actions, it was number 59, so they just bumped it and added in Why the Hell Are We Back? And at this point, I don't know that anybody even cared.
I think
But-
that's the yeah.
Even though they
And-
perked it up with some added text to MRP it and give it a little more usefulness, it just, I don't think anybody noticed.
And in those promo reprints, they also took out the text about Gen Con
Yeah.
in both Why the Hell Are We Here and Why the Hell Are We Back? And those are both MRPs, so the originals don't have that text anymore, which is kind of obnoxious. But of course, they couldn't do a throwback in SS2. But I think they should have done throwback Why the Hell Are We Back in SS3, because it would make sense, because it's Why the Hell Are We Throwback?
Nice.
Ah.
But
And it would have preserved some of the functionality of the original.
they did make some good choices on what they put in, though, I think. Cards like Twisted Smile may not jump out, but when you have
Twisted
an
Smile
action
jumps out to
deck.
me immediately, because I remember playing through the Insurrection area when Premier Raw was just dropping Twisted Smiles to just blow up their hand.
and draw a huge bunch yourself once you get
And-
theirs. their hand out of the way.
That's something that would be nice about Afterburn, is that in Afterburn Premier Raw doesn't exist. So that
Yes.
immediate discard 1 doesn't happen. So Twisted Smile becomes just a relatively fair hand advantage engine.
I think it was strong for people like Trish who relied on actions.
I mean, it's multi, so I think it's just a strong card in general.
And there was less completely reversing. So
because Once Is Enough didn't exist yet, so completely reversing was Get the F Out, which isn't an Afterburn.
yeah.
It's
So,
interesting that they decided not to, cards that they wanted to reprint for SS3, like they chose not to reprint Get the F Out.
I think that was one, trying to avoid putting a completely reversal in the game at that point. And 2, Get the F Out is a reference to when WWF became WWE.
Correct.
And I think that since that reference was kind of old, they just didn't want to deal with it.
You can still change the name of the card. I mean, they did with many other cards.
could
I
have.
mean, you could, but I think the original point that they just didn't want to put in a completely reversed at 4 fortitude that was untyped.
Which is fine because, I mean, that card is, I mean, it holds good value these days because there's only one way to get it, one version of it. I mean,
Right.
Yep.
Also in that environment, it really helped multis be multis.
Yeah.
No, you have to reverse this twice. And then later on, as Once Is Enough became a thing and the Afterburn kind of faded away and we went back to all access, then yeah, we see a lot of completely reverse now in virtual play. You know, we see in multi that's sometimes easier to reverse because they have a Once Is Enough or Get the F Out, whereas a straight regular action might be harder to stop or what have you.
But thinking about Afterburn design for one more moment, having Once Is Enough out there ties you down to face. So you're making a deliberate choice in an alignment that you want to be able to completely reverse multis.
Right.
So I think that's a better design space than just, no, there's this 4 fortitude card that completely reverses multis. What's a multi? Fuck off.
Yeah. And also when Get the F Out came, there
I
were
want
only
that. I
a
want
few
that as
multis.
flavor text on
Yes.
a card, by the way.
What's a multi? Fuck off.
Fuck
Anyway,
off.
Get Eric RD on the phone. We'll get it done.
That's right.
That could be the flavor text to shoot chair shot when I ever get it in the game.
There you go. I like it.
Shut up.
Some good flavor text there. What else we got about SS3? I mean, such a big release. I don't feel like we covered a whole lot about SS3. Is there a
The
lot
thing
that-
about SS3 is that it's a huge release, but it's mostly reprints. So there isn't a whole lot to talk about in terms of new cards besides the throwbacks.
Yeah, mostly
And
what we talk
covered the
about.
throwback issues. So
Yeah.
it's otherwise just a lot of reprints to just bring cards forward.
I mean, what's the thought process of doing why do you think they made a throwback for foot stomp throwbacks like that? Were the original's not that good anymore?
So the original was not
It wasn't.
great, but also I think they wanted to make a unique version rather than making people chase down 3 copies of an ultra rare from that pool.
But there were multiple versions of that ultra rare. It's not like it was just released in one release. Like, I mean, it had a promo version, a version 1.0, version 2.0. I mean, it wasn't like it was just it wasn't that hard to come by.
And that logic also breaks down a little bit when you think about Patent Austin Kick did not get that treatment.
Yeah, that was
Patent
weird.
Austin Kick is just there, and it's a 3 of ultra rare.
Yeah, and that's too.
Have fun with that.
It's also just as easy to come by as the original foot stop throwbacks too. Which is weird. It's just weird to me. And updating something like first to tap as well. And
Yeah,
Which
I
they
think
could have also done that, and it really feels like a way to drive sales because they could have done that in an auxiliary fashion, like saying, replace 10D plus with 8D plus. Well, they said 8D or greater back then, but
yeah.
replace 10D or greater with 8D or greater on your first attack match, or your
Sure.
your your X is Y.
Mhm.
So where they have modifier effects, because we saw a lot of that. We saw, when you do this, your such and such card is -10 fortitude, or this makes that card irreversible. They could have done that as well, but no, they created these throwbacks specifically, mostly for the big name guys. I mean, there are some throwbacks that lesser superstars got that were slightly better. RVD had, I think it's a Dude Nice Hang Time.
Yep.
That was slightly different. I think he searches for a card and then he removes the cannot be played text of his next card, of the next high risk or something like that. But
Yep.
the originals made it that you had to be the card you just searched for. The throwback said it could be any. So you could go get a high risk and then play a different high risk from hand to get that perk. It was a minor thing, but it was one of those throwbacks that people still needed to get if they wanted the best version of playing that superstar.
Wasn't TLC match thrown back as well?
Yes, it was. Yep.
Yes, very much so.
And freaks are cool.
Freaks are cool was just changing it from 1 fortitude to 0 fortitude. And honestly, like I played that card a little bit when it first came out, but belts became so unreliable for low superstars that I just never really bothered with freaks. So it was one of those collect it, file it, ignore it kind of cases.
And
TLC
the
match was
person
fun.
who had a superstar value that could really get a benefit out of Freaks Are Cool was Big Papa Pump, who had a fortitude reduction ability. So
We had a lot of non-superstar specific stuff that got thrown back too. A lot.
Oh yeah, because they were trying to get those cards into Afterburn and bring them up to the general card quality of Afterburn.
So basically, that's the whole problem. I mean, obviously to give you a best of, but also to bring things Afterburn.
Correct.
You know,
Yeah,
legal.
we saw
basically.
a few like Superplex that got thrown back to work a little differently, so it gave you an either or. In
Well, I
some
think
cases,
Superplex was thrown back to be cleaner because the original Superplex is kind of messy in modern terms.
It is, but I think most of the throwbacks we saw came from the other sets, from Afterburn and Unforgiven, right after that.
Right.
Well, it's a monster set that holds a high value now these days. I mean, trying to find a box of that's like finding a brick of gold, you know.
Yep.
And I've seen guys, even for Rumble packs, I've seen guys up on eBay trying to sell a factory sealed box of Rumble packs, you know, for $1,200. Again, that's what they're trying to sell it for. Doesn't mean they're selling it for that, but you know, that's in line of, you know, the booster packs are where the real value is at, I think, with the exception of wanting to get those Rumble packs to find certain, you know, I need to get 3 Hurricanes, you know, I got to get those cards, you know. It's just, man, if you can go back in time and buy boxes, I'd love to buy as many of those and just sit on them for a while.
I don't know that I'd had the discipline not to open them.
True. That's the same. And it's, you know, a lot of boxes and packs that I had that I ended up shipping to Mikey to sell. It was hard not to open those. So,
yeah.
I mean, even stupid stuff. I was a lot of, I mean, I had.
Come on, Tony. You got to know the basic rule. Don't get high on your own supply.
Exactly. Exactly. And I was good at it though. But I mean, I was good at not opening them. Like, you know what? I'm not going to open them. I mean, who the hell wants to open, I've got 3.5 boxes of Divas Overload. Who the hell wants to open that? I mean, but it was hard not to open. Shut up. It was hard to not open, you know, was it Velocity? That's where Get the F Out came from.
Yes.
So it was kind of hard
yeah.
not to open those packs. So, or, you know, any of that crap. It was just hard not to open it. And I had a shit ton of Revolution 2 packs. I mean,
oh yeah. Ooh.
but who wants to open that? God damn it.
I mean,
I do.
and not
It's
for
a
the
pack I
price
wanted.
point. Not for the price point, but if somebody said, "Here, you can have this old raw deal stuff," like sell it, open it.
Open
Well,
it.
yeah, open it. Why not?
Like, when do I get to do that anymore?
That's
Yeah,
kind of
the
where I'm
days
at
of-
right now. Like if I find anything locally, it's like I'm not even bothering. Like, hey, I'm going to send this to Mike now to put up on the website so it sells a pack. I don't give a shit. I'm going to open this thing now. I don't care. I'm just as likely to find, you know, just some stuff that I can make for what I probably pay for the pack as I would just selling the pack. I don't really care.
One quick note. The demand was so high for certain cards. Biggest and foremost was the Throwback Spinebuster. That not only, we talked about they put them in starter packs as non-foil versions later on, but they actually went back and reprinted like 500 extra Rumble pack, 8 that the Rock is in?
Sure.
You would know better than I would. You've got the list.
I got a list here, but yes, I do. You are not wrong, sir. Rumble Pack 8 with the Rock had Spinebuster. They reprinted like 500 extra packs and took them to Gen Con and sold them there individually, but they capped a limit on it. So people
Like you
couldn't
can
just
only
buy
buy
like
3?
100 and go sell them on eBay. Yeah, you can buy like 3 or something like that. And of course, I walked up and said, "I'll take my limit. Thank you very much."
Yeah.
I think they were also selling 2 because it had diversions. And the throwback diversion was cheaper by a lot. And
Yeah,
not just helpful for Stacy, it was actually a pretty good card. So
What was it, 19 versus 13?
Oh, more than that. I think it was like 17 down to 13, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good card. I mean, and then they made a non-full version of it later on.
Yeah,
Right.
that was in another starter deck.
Yeah.
But there was still demand for those, so they printed off like, I don't know, 100 or something of Rumble Pack 2 and had those available too.
So there's technically there's
Hey, that's
more
for Hurricane cards too.
there's more of those than those Rumble Packs and other Rumble Packs in.
Correct.
So 2 and 8 would be the ones that are higher print.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
It's still
I don't
finding
think it's going to impact the value much because
No, it's not, because I mean that stuff still goes for good money trying to find those.
Yep.
And plus, we're talking about Stone Cold and Rock cards getting out there.
Yep.
Every now and then, I'll go dig through my because I took all of the old extra premium rares and I put them in one box sorted by Superstar. And then when Rumble Packs came out, I took all of the extra Rumble Pack cards and same thing, sorted them by Superstar. So every now and then, I'll go into that box and I want to find something, and I'll be like, okay, I've got this like Tajiri section, not the non-uniques, mind you, but like all of the unique cards that just you only need so many copies of them, and Tajiri's not a massively played superstar. And then I look in the rock section and there's like 2 cards. And then I look for the Austin section and there isn't one. Because back then you could actually use those a bit as currency for people who maybe couldn't afford or wanted to deal more in trade than trying to go out and purchase these things. So it's, hey, do you have some of those foil Austin cards? I've got this whole set. I just want the newer versions. Oh yeah, well here's these. I'll trade you for this low end ultra rare you got.
There you go.
Oh, the days of trading.
That
Yeah.
was so much fun.
The last trade I actually did, I think, was with Drew. Might have been Drew. I think I traded a My Way, I traded a My Way for, I believe, 2 Rev Shawn Michaels ultra rares and 1 Taker ultra rare,
I can see that.
It's fair.
and that was like when the product first came out. And I'm like, I'll take these. I'll take the Undertaker one. There's no problem. I think might have been what was his ultra rare for Rev 3? The Antic.
Well, he had 4 of them.
The Antic.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that antique, Lord of Darkness.
Yeah, Lord
I
of
believe.
Darkness. Yeah.
The one that I used in Vince.
Very well, I might add.
Yeah.
Fuck Vince. All right. Well, I think that's all.
I like hearing that, pal.
I think we pretty much wrapped everything up with those 2 releases there. So
Yeah.
I guess we can call it an episode now.
What do you want to tackle next?
What do you guys up for? Except you guys. Wherever
We've
you
covered
feel
the
comfortable.
Afterburn era. We could jump into like Virtual 3 next.
Just getting the virtual stuff, and we only did 1 virtual release so far.
Sure, let's do it.
What's wrong with Virtual 2?
There's like
It's a
8 guys
small
in
set.
it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like a holiday set.
Okay,
And
We can
there's
talk
no
about
booster
Virtual
packs.
2 and Virtual 3. How about that?
there you go.
Just have Virtual 2 as a 20-minute rider.
We'll put them together.
Yeah.
Sounds good, man.
All right.
Well,
let's
as
do
per
it.
usual, you guys let me know what your schedule is, and I work around your guys' schedule.
I have my schedule now, so we can
All right.
work it out.
Sounds great, guys.
All
Well,
right.
until next time, I think we're done, guys.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Yeah,
If you like what you
hey,
see, hit that subscribe button and remember to ring the notification bell.
there you go. See, look at I'm gonna hire this guy, man. He's awesome. He's awesome. I mean, he's no D2, but come on.
Oh, fuck D2.
I knew that was coming. Man. All right, with that, man, we're
Dustin,
out of
I
here.
love you, baby.
We're out of here, guys.
Until next time.
Later.